Yo, what's good, YouTube? Dark Black Crow here with another video. This video is just going to be a little positive message about moving forward. So, I was having a rough time about my past and what I've done in the past. And I was talking to somebody. And they were telling me a whole bunch of things. But the main thing that really stuck to me was the fact that you got to keep moving forward. So, they referenced this. So, when you're in a car, right? You have to keep looking forward. You have to look at the road, look at the other cars, look at everything around you. And you stare in that back mirror, of course, because you have to, just in case someone's behind you. But you only look there for like a quick second, 3 seconds. And what they were going on to tell me is that if you keep looking in the back mirror, the rear view mirror, then you're going to crash because you can't see what's in front of you. And that hit me deep because I was like, man, I'm not going to say I've done some like very, very, very bad things in the past, but I've done things that I regret. And I've done things that kind of messed up my life up to this point. And I just didn't know how to go about it. But looking at the optimistic side of everything, it's going a lot better. But yeah, it was just like, man, they're right. I do got to keep looking forward because the forward is the future. And you can only change the future. You can't change your past. And the more you keep dwelling on the past and everything, that'll just sit with you because you're like, dang, I can't fix it, But there's some things that we have to learn. And everything is a learning lesson in this world, We're brought into this world to learn lessons and to be the best version of us that we can be so that when we get to heaven, we're the most perfect, at least absolute perfect. Try to be the absolute most perfect person that we can be. Maybe not perfect all the way, but that's for heaven to decide on us. And God, But with Jesus is just a perfect example of how we got to keep moving forward, man, because Jesus told us not to look back pretty much because he died for our sins. And he got hung on that cross and he went through all that pain and destruction so that we can keep moving forward. And the more I keep looking back on my life, it's just I can dwell on the things that I've done in the past and be like, dang, like I really messed up, man. I shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, if I keep looking back, it's not going to change anything. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be stuck in everything that I've done has been done, So I can't really change that. But at the same time, if I keep moving forward, then it'll be a lot more positive because I can learn from the past, And when I learn from the past, like when I use the past that I've gone through to make me a better person, then it truly does make me a better person. And, when you keep moving forward, it's just like, man, there's so many bright opportunities for you. And sure, we don't all have the same situation. Like, I'm in a great country, America, United States of America. And I know I have a blessed life because I basically get stuff handed to me right now, because, man, it's just I have a good life. And, there's some things in my life that I got to change up or I got to fix. But at the same time, I could be in a lot worse situation because, and I'm not saying I would because God put me in this country for a reason, and he blessed me with this. But at the same time, there's people in other countries that can't even eat and they starve to death, There's certain animals that get left untreated because their owners just leave them and nobody knows where they're at, And for me to be so blessed that I can keep moving forward, I got to use that opportunity. But that's me. You got to worry about yourself, man. And sometimes it's hard, man, because sometimes our past just gets to us, man. And sometimes maybe like if I kept looking back or if you keep looking back, maybe it's like, man, like I really would have had a better life if I really went up, like if I really fixed that problem, like if I could really fix that problem or if I never did that. And I'll explain a lot about my past in more videos, but at the same time, it's just, there's a lot of things that I could have done to make my life better. But at the same time, I got to deal with what I got to deal with now. And I'm dealing with it, I'm trying my best. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it because I'm not, but at the same time, I'm trying my best. And God tells us pretty much to keep looking forward, just like with Jesus. Like I said, him dying for us, that's a big moment of you got to look forward, and not so much of the past, because Jesus pretty much died for our past and sins are in the past. You got to move past that point of sinning and you want to leave sins in the past, of course, But at the same time, I understand, like, if you're trying to go out with your friends or something and you lie to your parents, like, there's nothing I can do about it. You know, I wouldn't encourage you to do it. But at the same time, we're like middle schoolers, high schoolers, you know, what can you do about it? You know, that's just their mentality, because that was my mentality in high school. But at the same time, I just know that I just gotta keep going, and I gotta keep pushing, and I gotta do the things that I gotta do, because I got a lot of things that I want to do in this life, you know. But at the same time, it's just I gotta really focus on myself and put everything that I've been through into persuasion of how strong I can be, because I know I'm a strong being and nobody can tell me otherwise. And I know that I am a very powerful being. You know, I feel like I could be one of the ancestors if I really look deep into my history. And that connects with Anubis, because Anubis is such a strong god, and he connects with me a lot, you know. And I feel like he tells me these things because I pray to him, and I ask him questions, and I feel like he responds, you know, however he responds. But at the same time, it's just I got to put all this stuff into use, and I got to put the tools that I've learned into action. And I can't just sit back and on my behind and just, you know, let it all play out how it plays out. I got to put some effort into what I want to do, and I know that, and I'm realizing that, slowly but surely realizing it. And I know that the more I keep progressing, the stronger I'm going to become, spiritually, physically, and powerfully. You know, that's just the honest truth, because we're all spiritual beings living in a human experience. And we're all spirits because our souls are spirits, if you believe in souls. But at the same time, we're stuck in this body that we have to get out of. It's so hard to break free because only God can make us break free. But at the same time, that has a plan for us. God has a plan for us on that. And the last thing I want to bring up is what someone said. So someone said that we're living in the end times, like Noah, when the waters flooded the earth, and Noah had to build a ship to go away, and he had to bring all these animals and whoever he had to bring. You know, I kind of forgot. I got to reread it, but at the same time, you know, I was like, man, maybe that's true. But at the same time, only God will tell us. And, you know, I believe him, man. I'm not gonna discredit what he thinks, because he thinks that. He knows that from the bottom of his heart. And I was looking at his YouTube, and I was, you know, researching him, and he was really stuck on that. But at the same time, you know, it's just, you gotta understand the situation that we're in right now. You know, we gotta understand that we're on earth. But at the same time, still think about heaven, because heaven is eternal life, and heaven is where we're gonna get blessed by God, by Jesus, by everybody holy. And we're gonna be living a good life. But that just takes patience, you know. That just something I have to be patient on, because I can't wait to get to heaven. But at the same time, patience is kind of burdening me in my life. But at the same time, I can't let that burden get to me, man, because patience is patience. But besides that, that's in the video. Just want to tell you to keep moving forward, man, because it's very powerful, man. Because if you just focus on yourself and you just really put in everything that you've learned so far in your life, then, man, you can go a long way, man. Because think about it, all these celebrities, they ain't, you know, whether they sold their soul or they did it for their effort, they put some kind of work in, and they look where they're at. And there's no telling what you can be. You could be a celebrity, honestly. And whether it's for the money or for the fame or whatever you want, for the cars, materialistic things, whatever. At the same time, if you put in the effort, who knows what you'll get. But that's all mysteries that are to be understood at a later time. It's just that we got to go through what we're going through right now. But besides that, it's the end of the video. Dark Black Crow out. Peace and positivity, y'all. Catch you later. Love y'all.